Hello, happy Saturday, everybody. This is Constance from Mrs. T Weddings. I am now starting the weekly lives. We're no longer in lockdown, so we are all about just getting to know amazing, fabulous wedding suppliers that are out there. So today I'm going to be joined by the lovely Jade, who is a makeup artist. Now, she's a very, very interesting makeup artist because you'll hear about her day-to-day life as a makeup artist, but it isn't what most wedding makeup artists are up to. So she's got a fascinating story, and she has been working in the industry for a while and has gained an incredible reputation. And we are so lucky to have her as part of Sweet 15. I was on the phone to her earlier today and we were having a real laugh about the realities of life at the moment. She's got two teenage daughters and a household to look after. I, on the other hand, just have a dog that seems to take up a lot of my time. But today I managed to get my hair done, which was a huge achievement in my eyes, getting rid of the M1 that was going down my head prior to today. And yes, but yeah, Christmas is starting to happen in our house. I've left my husband putting up the Christmas tree. The wreath is on the door. Thank you to some fabulous people out there who have made all of this possible for us while we've been very, very busy making weddings happen. Say hello, Jade.
Hi, Constance. How are you?
How are you?
Good.
Good. I love the sparkly light behind you.
And I'm actually at Pel's house. It's gorgeous, isn't it? I want one now.
Yeah, I adore it. Stunning. So thank you so much for joining us today. So kind of you to give up some time on a very precious Saturday because we're actually allowed out.
I know. So I've not been out. This is my getting out.
Well, you've gone crazy. I went and got my house just saying I just got my hair done. So my
gorgeous.
M1 that was down there has now been cleared up. So
yeah, I'm getting mine done on Tuesday.
Big curls, going out for dinner tonight.
Lovely.
There you go. Right, you know, we're all my friends are sending me their selfies from the hairdressers today.
It looks gorgeous.
We're also the same. Thanks. It's big. So thank you so much for joining us. I was just saying before you joined that you've got a very interesting background. You're not just a makeup artist for weddings, but you've actually got a whole nother career to do with makeup, which is fascinating. So tell us a little bit about what your normal day-to-day job is.
So my normal day-to-day job is I run a makeup room for a newsroom. I run the makeup room for Reuters in London. Wow. And tell me if I suddenly disappear,
how cool is that?
Because I can't. I've not done this before. I
will.
don't know the setup. So
you're doing brilliantly. You're there.
My day to day is I live in Henley and I travel into London 3 days a week. Yeah. And I do that. So that's presenters and guests.
Which is fascinating. You must have met some incredible people.
It's really interesting. I really love it. I love when I first started in makeup, my whole plan was I wanted to do fashion. And then when I started in the fashion world, I suddenly discovered that it wasn't a good fit for me. I didn't really love it. So then I sort of went to a slight panic. Yeah. And then I was in a studio and the photographer's ex-assistant, I'm sort of going off track here, but just to give you an idea of how I got to a newsroom. He was then working at a newsroom and he called her and I just happened to be in there. And she called to me and said, "Oh, do you fancy doing a couple of days in a newsroom?" I'd never done telly. So
okay.
Yeah, definitely. Brilliant.
Of course I do.
Yeah, of course I do. And I started there and it was a newsroom that was just starting up.
Okay.
So it was all people around the same kind of age as me and I loved it. And so I've worked in a newsroom whilst doing other TV stuff in and out since then. So that was sort of 95. And I love it.
Brilliant.
So I do those.
So do you go out on location with the presenters as well?
Not with this channel, but every now and then, but on the whole, we're based in the studio. Yeah. And because they're reporters, kind of tend to go straight from home. So, you know, they're very kind of basic, quick makeup. So we're there doing the, you know, sort of the real deal. Yeah. And then any guests that come in. Yeah. And then, so that, I never do that 5 days a week. I sort of do that 2 to 3 days a week. Yeah. And then when other stuff comes in and out, you know, some weeks, I mean, that's the thing about being freelance. Some weeks I might not have anything come in at all. especially at the moment with, you know, a pandemic. But and then of course weddings are always on a Saturday, so that's, you know, that's always on not always on Saturday now though, right? Not always.
Not so much. 21 is going to be the year of any day goes.
Exactly. So that's my day today.
Yeah. So that's okay. So that's fascinating and totally different from wedding style, presumably, but all very much camera focused, and thinking about the longevity of the makeup, presumably, and how you can make that work. So how would you describe your style of makeup? Because like there's so many makeup artists out there, right? And they do all sorts of different things. You know, we've all watched the TV shows and, you know, it's fascinating all the things that can be done. But what would you say your style is? How would you define it?
I would say my style is, it's funny actually. Oh, sorry, my screen went a bit funny.
That's all right.
But I would say actually my style isn't so I love everything. I love natural glossy. I love 1950s. I would say I'm not massively into all the contouring that's really in fashion at the moment. So I'd say what I'm not into is that, and I think there's loads of other makeup artists that do that much better than me anyway. And
that's fine, like it's got its place in the market, but that's just not your specialism.
Exactly.
You're going to go more for a natural kind of maybe natural complexion, but maybe more dramatic in other ways.
Exactly. I mean, I really love skin, and you know, I've done as I was saying to you, I've done, you know, a winter bride where she was in a really gorgeous deep red dress and she wanted 1950s liner, a strong red lip. And I love that sort of thing. I love the thing with the bride of tapping into who they really are and being able to read them and make them just feel really, really, really fantastic. So I try and, you know, with what I can do, really give them their style. So I think that's what's important to me, is that they really feel the best they can possibly be. So I try
that's what every bride wants, right? They just want to feel the best they've ever felt on that day. And if you can help them achieve that, then that's huge. And
it's, I mean, really huge.
What do you do? It is. And I remember the pressure from when I was a bride to look the best. You know, I was going to the gym. I was eating next to nothing. I was drinking all the water I could. I was not drinking alcohol. You know, I was doing everything. I struggle with my skin, but I was doing everything to try and make my skin look as good as it could, you know, because I was so anxious that this was going to be the day that I had more photos taken of me than any other day in my life. And all the most important people in the world are going to be there to me. So you want to look the best that you've ever looked. And so there's a lot of pressure on you as a bride. So to have somebody else on that journey with you, such as yourself, is really valuable. What do you do? So we've all got, like, as brides, everyone's got millions of Pinterest boards and they've saved loads of things on Instagram and they've got so much inspiration and things. What do you do if a bride comes to you and says, right, this is the look I want, and you go, ooh, with your look? Really? Okay. How do you get around that? Because that must happen.
It does. I mean, I've got two examples I can bring to mind. There was one, and it was somebody I worked with. So I knew her really, really well. So I could speak to her really honestly and bluntly. And she is really pale. She's kind of like, she's really tall, really glam, really pale, really, really blonde hair. Really blonde.
Right.
And she handed me a picture. It was a glamour magazine, and it was a front cover of Kate Beckinsale, who was really tanned and all honey-coloured hair. And I gave her one of my favourite sayings, which is brush not a wand. I said, you know, I can't, you know, do a miracle. And I said, you know, I could say to you, right, get some honey-coloured, you know, put in your hair, have a spray tan. I said, but really? Why don't we go? You are beautiful. You look amazing. Why don't we go with who you really are? And we went for that kind of, you know, rather than trying to go glossy, we went for that kind of Veronica Lake, ice cold, glamour blonde. And it was amazing. So, you know, but I was able to talk to her really honestly and kind of, you know, in a jokey way. And there was another one where this really lovely girl, she brought along, she'd already said to me that I don't really wear makeup. So I was surprised when she handed me it was a advertising picture, and a very kind of tropical, backed against leaves, and a bright cerise lip, like really beautiful. And I thought, oh, okay. And do you know what the reason, I'm remembering now, the reason she was drawn to the picture is she was wearing a bright white dress and a bright shocking pink shoe. Fabulous. Okay. So I think she'd kind of thought, so I said, okay, well, let's try that.
Top and tail it.
Yeah. And it would have looked amazing. But I thought, that's, you know, a really strong lip. You know, it hits the room before you do, kind of thing. You know what I mean? You've got to be really sure about carrying it off and wearing it all day. So I said, well, let's do that. And then could we take that off and I'll do actually a look I'd really like to do, which was all kind of very soft, rosy golds and just a little bit of gloss. And I took pictures of both. And of course, straight away, she loved the way she looks. In a strange way, with more makeup on, but it was the look came across as softer. So I think it's about, you know, I think it's
a kind of authenticity to the bride or to the model.
Yeah, exactly. Because in a way,
and not going too far.
Yeah. In a way, you know, you kind of have lots of brides that do have a very soft, pretty look. So actually, to suddenly have a bride, if I was building a website that had a strong pink lip, would look great for me, right? Brilliant.
Yeah.
But actually, it wouldn't have worked for her all day. She wouldn't have been really comfortable. And she knew that by the time we'd done the whole other look. God, your hair looks so gorgeous now you've done all of that. It's gorgeous. So I think it's
4 hours of work there.
I think it's about caring enough to see what's really going to work with them. Tapping into who they are, which when you've worked with somebody for quite a while, which I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of the people I've made up for weddings, that's a really easy thing to do. But I think on a first meeting, it's about really listening to the bride and kind of taking in what they normally wear, you know, maybe the great thing about Instagram, of course, now is you can look through people's Instagrams and kind of see what they're going out,
figure out their makeup journey.
So that's helpful. And I think with a Pinterest board, those weren't around when I got married, so I'm guessing, you having been a bride, I'm guessing there was probably huge, you know, you pin loads and loads of stuff, and I've been sent loads and loads
it's so scattered.
It's huge, right? So, but I think the makeup, when I look at loads of them, you can normally tie it down to a few key things. All the pictures are saying the same tone of lipstick.
They're all pulling the same, like a dramatic eye or a, you know, a real glossy lip or whatever it is. You can see it throughout as a theme.
Exactly.
It's fascinating. It is. I mean, when you get to see people's Pinterest boards, you're like, whoa, okay, we've gone full circle from full on glam to complete boho. Where are we going here? You know?
Exactly.
And then playing, you know, and then bringing it back. I think it's fascinating you saying you've worked with quite a lot of your brides frequently before through, you know, other channels. You've done their makeup. So in general, that's where you got a lot of your clients from. What kind of weddings do you end up doing off the back of that?
All sorts, actually. I'll give you two extremes. So one, I did I was working with actually the groom at a channel, and he'd spoken about he was getting married soon, and then he was chatting, and I said, oh, hang on, is it that producer that, you know? I said, oh my gosh, she's so lovely. So I ended up doing their wedding. She was born here, but her mother was French, and she said, listen, I have a really, really, she said, often in France, we don't do these really, really, really big weddings. You sort of have the reception at your home.
No, they don't.
She said, so that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, it's very local, isn't it?
Yeah. She wore her mother's wedding dress. It was really beautiful.
Yeah.
And
much more traditional.
Yeah. And I remember rocking up there, and it felt quite, I'm trying to remember, was it in Chiswick, I think? So it was a very kind of London house. It felt very kind of, it was one of the sweetest weddings I've ever seen. You know, everyone from the family was outside doing stuff. Her mum was running around shouting French. Has everyone seen my toilet roll triangle pyramid that I've made in the loo? And, you know, and she wore, I mean,
as you do.
Yeah, as you do. I felt I'd spent more time kind of chatting and having fun than making her up. It was so just a little bit of something, you know.
Yeah.
Lovely. She so wasn't into makeup that I had to leave her my gloss because she had done all the looking for lipstick and all of that. So that's one end. And then another end, I did a wedding for an Italian presenter that I'd worked with quite a long time. And her parents lived in Monaco. So they were able to
I bet we're talking glam here.
Really,
like
really
Italian,
glam.
Monaco presenter. Yeah.
And she was
tick,
marrying tick, tick, tick. She was marrying an American guy. So we had, so she was half Italian, half German. Parents lived in Monaco, marrying an American guy. So you had all these people flying in from all over the world. And because they lived in Monaco, they were able to have you have to have the wedding service at the mayor's office, I think.
At the mairie.
Amazing. And then the actual reception wedding bit, they had at the Villa de Rothschild in Nice. So we all got sort of,
as you do,
taxied over. It was amazing. Really, that was definitely
wow. That is full on.
Done. It was full on. Yeah. And she had, you know, she had a massive dinner. So we had.
Did she have glam makeup?
So she had on. So we had. Oh God, there were so many sort of parties before the actual wedding. We had one party where she was in a beautiful Prada dress, and that was a very gold look. And then in the morning of the wedding, we had one very kind of rosy gold look, and her hair was up by a hairdresser. And then by the evening, the hairdressers put extensions in, and she's got a whole different, really, really glamorous look for the Villa de Rothschild. So we're talking real glamour. And so, yeah, all ends.
That must have been fun.
It was really good fun.
Yeah. It's good to have that diversity, isn't it? You don't want to be a one-trick pony and just keep rehashing the same thing every time. You want to have that diversity to play around and really understand the complexity of each person you're working with, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
That's good. And so tell me, you know, what happens if a bride books you? What's the process of working with you?
Well, I'm guessing it's probably pretty much like most makeup artists that you do a trial. And
would you go to their house, or do they come to a studio?
It varies, really.
What do you prefer?
It varies.
Yeah.
You know, they've come to my house, or I've gone to their house, or they come to the studio sometimes. So it varies. And I think often in their own home, they're a little bit more kind of comfortable, and we kind
less
of
nerves.
A little bit longer to do it, you know. I'm quite a rambling talker, so we spend quite a lot of time chatting. I find it quite hard. I'm not very that's the other thing. So with weddings, I mean, I've done the odd wedding where we haven't had time to do a trial, but I think that's quite rare. I think brides, it's important to them to kind of see that look.
Yeah.
But I think what I'd say is
reassurance.
Yeah, exactly. And don't kind of overthink it too much, because often you're doing the trial in January and the wedding is in August. So your skin can be a different tone. You know, you've got to remember all of those bits. So those, talking the bride through all of that as well is quite important, because you may have just come out of Christmas and you're all slightly toxic, having had lots of, you know, Christmas champagne and rich food and, you know, all of that. So I think, and also, like you say, often people are doing a fitness thing before the wedding. So I've even done a few trials a bit closer as well, to kind of, you know, in May time, or they can always do a spray tan before the trial. Some brides do that. I think brides now are way more well versed in kind of what to do than 20 years ago, for example, you know. And I think Instagram,
the beauty industry has taken off over the past 20 years, hasn't it, to make everything accessible to anyone in that sense, hasn't it?
Exactly. So I think a little bit with that, it's about then them tapping into whether or not you're the right person, because I think there are so many makeup artists out there now, so you're gonna get somebody good quite easily, I think. So it's about whether or not you connect.
Yeah, and if they can understand what you're looking for and not just put on the face that they like to do, but do the face that is right for you as a person. And that's part of that connection, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And so when it comes to the wedding day, what you know, what are your what's your agenda? What's your plan for a wedding day?
So I only ever do one wedding a day. I know a lot of people fit 2 to 3 weddings in a day. I don't. I just give that full day to that bride on that day. Yeah. I can't actually get my head around moving on to another bride, to be honest.
No. That would be so chaotic in your head, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't really want to clock watch, you know? I don't really want to be clock watching about getting out to get somewhere else. So I tend to I'm going to let you on not a secret, because when we actually get together, you'll see I'm quite often late for things, but weddings, I'm not.
Very impressed you were on this on time.
Well, we're lucky. I will, if anything, we'll get there early for a wedding, and then I'm just there, for the full lot, to the point where I'll stay and put the veil in if the hairdresser's left because they've gone on to another wedding, or even if I know, I kind of ask things like, if you're getting married in a church, this is a really good tip, because I saw a bride fall once. When you walk along down an aisle, often they're really slippery. So I've done things like run downstairs.
They're really slippery, aren't they?
And scuff them on the bottom for the brides so they don't fall. Just things like that. So.
Oh, that's good of you. Yeah.
110% there. All you've got to do is make sure I'm fired up with tea.
But you're very hands-on, and you're very caring and considerate, and I don't know whether you've always been like that, but being a mum, you probably are more so, in that you're looking out for the mother of the bride, you're making sure that the bridesmaids as well aren't causing too much chaos. Like, you're very aware of reading the room to make sure the bride is in the best psychological position that she can be in advance of her wedding, because you're the last person, pretty much the last person she sees before the photos start getting taken for being in, her father seeing her, if that's what she's doing, and or walking down the aisle. You are one of those last people that she's going to have an intimate conversation with.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's quite key to kind of really remember that, because often, I mean, look, I've made up a lot of people I've worked with and I know, but of course I've made up people I don't know, and I'm not a part of their life. Yeah. So you're there, to all intents and purposes, a stranger at this incredibly pivotal moment. And that bit,
and in this proximity.
Exactly. And I sort of think, God, it's quite a privilege, that moment that you're there when the father, sees her for the first time. All those things, they're really amazing moments.
Yeah.
And so you have to know when as well, I think, to kind of pull out of the room, to let them have that moment, even though you're thinking, I need to get back in with that gloss because she's had champagne and a sandwich by the time she's leaving. So all those bits, I think, are really, really important, because when you do it so often, you do get used to them, so they become second nature. So in a way, I guess you've got to be careful not to get complacent about it too, right?
Exactly. And you kind of got to treat every wedding like it's your first. Like, that is the most special person you've ever met in the whole of your life. For me, no couple is like, oh, that's one of my couples. It's no, that is, the soon to be Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Like, they are everything to me in this moment, because, it's such an important time, and those brides and grooms, they're investing in you to share such a special day with them, that you need to make sure they feel that the love is reciprocated. Yeah.
And it's their first time. Mostly.
Yeah, absolutely. Usually. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I bet you get some, presumably on the day job with Reuters, you get some nervous guests. So you must have quite a lot of training in kind of getting people to calm down before a big event.
Well, I think that bit, I don't think I ever got training in that. I think that is
so new,
who you are as a person. Actually, I think you end up training yourself if you register it. And I think because I've worked in news for so long, I've made up a lot of men who and when they first kind of get brought into makeup, they're sort of, oh, do I have to have it put on, and then they really see the value of just, because you're just taking off shine, that's all it is. But and then they really get used to it. Yeah, exactly. And then they have the expectation of coming in. And I've built a really good relationship with quite a lot of the guys I've made up. I've seen in different newsrooms, and I've made them up over the course of 20 years now. So it's
you've
really,
seen the wrinkles
nice.
Develop as the political situation's got worse.
Both ways. Do you know, I keep thinking that I'll learn more and more and understand more about news, but I don't know that I do.
Not your forte.
Not my forte. I end up sort of drawing them into my space and talking about hand cream or something like that.
They walk away like, how do I know so much about lip gloss? Why do I know this?
If they're nervous, I think that's a really, really good thing. It sort of gets them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The distraction theory.
Distraction.
Yeah, that's the best. And I think on the wedding day, it's the same. It's so funny just thinking about that. When I was, it takes me back to my wedding. My dad and I had quite a long car journey between where I was getting ready and the venue we got married in. And in the car, my dad, you know, where they're meant to have this really sentimental conversation with you. I'm my father's only daughter. So, you know, I thought it's going to be quite an emotional thing. And we live in different countries, so we don't see each other that often. And I was building myself up for the emotions. He was just telling me about how busy he'd been eating sandwiches that morning. Spoke to the the guy driving us about how busy he'd been and what drives, you know, where he'd been that day. I'm like, hang on a minute, this is not the emotional journey I thought I was having. But the distraction was perfect. I didn't have any nerves when it got to getting to the venue because I was just thinking about where the taxi driver had been that morning to Heathrow or whatever it was. So tell me a little bit about your preference around, you know, what a bride can do to get herself beauty ready. So at the beginning I was talking about all the crazy things I was focusing on.
Yeah.
You know, you and I have spoken before about how I struggle so much with my skin. Tell me, what can people do? You know, so many brides say, what can I do to get my skin looking the best it possibly can, whether that be 6 months out, 3 months out, 24 hours out? What are the things that brides or grooms, because the grooms want gorgeous skin as well, can do in advance?
Well, I always suggest, because I normally meet up with a bride for a trial, I would say on average 6 months before the wedding. They're sort of booking their makeup artist, the kind of brides I do.
Yeah.
And but I may have spoken to them 8 months before. So I do say, you know, if you can book in for a facial once a month, then do. And it doesn't need to be some really expensive course of facials. It doesn't have to be, you know, it's all skin dependent. So it's about finding the right person for you. It doesn't have to be a massive acid facial. It's more about it being consistent with what you know, your expectation with how you want your skin to look. So it's about I think it's much better to have a basic facial for 8 months than just have one acid facial 3 weeks before and then your skin goes crazy. So I think it's about being consistent
and building up that kind of, so your skin really understands what's going on with it. It's got a time to adapt and then get used to it and really kind of appreciate what was being done to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you are using a skincare regime that works for you and products that work, then stick to that. But if you're using something that you know that's not working, then I can often go through some products with them, or say, you know, go to this person for a facial and they'll go through some stuff, and then just stay really consistent with it. And actually to invest a bit in your skincare so that you will, I think one of the real important things for me with skin is massage. And if you start to massage your skin and really, really look after it every evening, you're also then, it's also a calming experience. So you're looking after yourself. So at a time that
it's working this to the wedding, as well as this.
Exactly. The closer you get to the wedding, the calmer you can, you know, make yourself feel, and slow everything down. So if you've been raging around, you know, during the day, knowing that you've committed to that skincare regime in the evening can just calm everything down. And I think it's one way to kind of get them to think, okay, just slow down a bit. So it's got both, you know, it's got, like you said, practical, visible, and also mentally. It's one of the things that I think is really useful for a bride.
Yeah. There's one company that I love called Wild Source, and they say it's all about routine and rituals, and it's all about the face massage and ritual every day of doing that.
Yeah.
Is so important. But with the massage, I used Face Gym and had a series of massages with them beforehand. And I mean, like, it's hilarious, the whole concept of it. But the actual massage immediately afterwards, the effects are incredible.
And
it's not long lasting, but
yeah. Did they give
good.
you some kind of a little routine of what you had to do at home?
They didn't, and that annoyed me because I should have done. You know, like I would have loved to have done a bit around here. But one of my friends, she's a big fan of that. So she sent me videos of everything that I needed to be doing. And every night I was doing it with my oils. But it's but there were, you know, there are so many things on the market, and it can be quite overwhelming and suffocating, and like you say, it can be so tempting to buy, oh, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, I'll buy this, and then you're swapping and changing products every 2 minutes because you're like, none of them are working, but that's not actually giving any of them a chance to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just about being consistent, and don't I think that, you know, Instagram's amazing and I love it and I can lose hours to it, but as we all can, you know, but I think the thing of just really keeping in your head about so much is mucked about with, face tuned, all of that sort of stuff. And just remembering that, you know, skin is a living, breathing organ that
it is,
you know, that does have different tones. We're not this flat, you know, perfectly contoured, shined, you know, so to give yourself a bit of a break. And actually, do you know what, when I think about it, on the whole, when I look at, very often, you know, a bride will text me, oh my God, you know, I've come up in a spot on my chin, or, you know, that kind of hormonal stress. Something I think happens to a bride on the day where they just look amazing. I don't know what it is.
That glow.
It is. You know, everything comes together because it's, you know, there gets a backdrop of a really beautiful, you know, whether it's a garden, the beach, whatever it is. They're in a lighter color very often that lifts their skin anyway. So they're being lit from every angle. There's so much that's going to help you on the day. And also your eyes are sparkly because, you know, you're happy.
You're in love.
So I think, you know, to kind of give yourself a break and not overthink things too much, and trust that everyone, especially if you've been clever enough to hire a wedding planner, that there is somebody there that's kind of dotting all those I's, and on the morning, just
they've got your back, and you're not doing that crazy run around. So for my brides, the only thing I want them to think about is them. That's all they should think about. They shouldn't be thinking about the venue. They shouldn't be thinking about their bridesmaids. They shouldn't be thinking about when their hairstylist is going to turn up. They're not going to be thinking about their dress. Somebody else is thinking about that. And it's either me, one of my team, or I've lined up a supplier that we know is in charge of that. It is not the bride's responsibility. The bride should be sat there thinking, what a luxury. I don't really have to do it. And should be a bit bored, actually. They should be a little bit bored, kind of like, well, should I be doing something? No, you should be taking every single moment in, because the minute you have finished the wedding ceremony, life becomes crazy. You're talking to everyone, you're in the middle of everything. It's a busy, busy day being the center of attention. So you need to just take that time, like you say, and just take it down a notch. Yeah, it's important. And tell me, so if a bride wants you to stay throughout the day, can you do that? Or do you just come in and then go?
No, I stay. I mean, very often by the end of it, I go and sort of watch them get married anyway. And I'm thinking every now and then you get asked to stay. But I think on the whole, with the kind of brides I do, it's not really necessary, because one of the things, again, brush not a wand for me, people will say, so they'll want to wear a pretty lovely, like the kind of glossy that you've got on at the moment, and they'll say, so which brand, what shall I get that will last all day? And nothing
will last all day.
No, it won't, you know. And I sort of say, you know,
you've got to go more matte if you want it to last. You can't have a gloss that lasts.
No, exactly. But even if then you've eaten and and this is where I think you book the makeup artist that's right for you. Yeah. Because I very often say, look, if you want that kind of boho, relaxed, pretty, you know, like for example, the kind of curls you've got in your hair at the moment, that kind of wave.
Yeah.
For that to last, say, from 1:30 till midnight, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And actually, don't worry about that not happening. You know, by the time you've had the meal, by the time you've done the first dance, then just have fun.
Yeah.
You know, and
let your hair down and have
let your
laugh.
hair down.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if I'm not staying, I often say, right, I clock who is the most organized bridesmaid, and I will go and give them the lipstick and and I'll say, right, when they come out, they'll have had the kiss. Just go up to her before those pictures get done and just re-gloss her lip, and then
exactly.
Yeah. So rather than just, of course you want to look beautiful, but get to a point in the evening where you just have a blast and not worry about whether the lip gloss is there, whether the hair's, you know, curly or dripping with sweat because you've been dancing loads. Get to that point.
Have fun. This is the best party of your life. Enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant. And so with your Instagram, it's very inspirational. I love that. And you always put up really awesome throwback, you know, inspiration style icons.
Yeah.
Who is your #1 style icon?
Yeah, I thought about this because you asked me before, and at first I thought, God, well, I don't know, who is it? Because actually when I think about it, there are loads. And, you know, I love what made me want to be a makeup artist actually was Rita Hayworth. I was obsessed with black and white film when I was young. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
There was something about her look, her face, the way makeup sat on her skin. I really loved her. And then I started to fall in love with all of them, you know, Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, all of them. But I think if you're going to pin me down to one, I'm going to say Dolly Parton.
That's it.
Dolly Parton.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah.
She's incredible, isn't she?
Yeah.
Do you listen to Table Manners, the Jessie Ware podcast?
No. Is she on that?
Oh, she was on it this week. I was listening to it yesterday. So good.
Okay, I'll listen. People
I'm
keep
leaving
saying
you with that
about
nugget
that
to go and listen.
She's gorgeous. Jessie Ware, she's gorgeous.
Oh, she's stunning, isn't she? Yeah. Really gorgeous look. Yeah.
Okay. And did you listen to Dolly Parton's America, that podcast?
No, but they were talking about it, and now I want to. It sounds incredible.
Amazing. Really amazing. Yeah. I think, brilliant. You know, with her, I mean, there are 2 pictures of her that I think are my favourite pictures of any human being, which is quite amazing, isn't it? When you've never even met.
That's a big statement.
Yeah. And, you know, one of them is the one, you'll definitely know which one I mean, where she's in silhouette by a mirror and she's putting on her lipstick.
Yes.
And it's
incredible.
So beautiful. And I just think I just love her. So I would say her.
Yeah. Good. I love that. Great choice. And kind of timeless as well, right? Like any photo of Dolly Parton could be from any decade, really. It's kind of fascinating, but it's always classy and fun. So
and I love the way she's honest. I love the way she's honest about all the surgery.
Yeah.
You know, I really love that, because if you're going to do it, I think don't hide the fact you're doing it. And she, you know, she's just fabulous.
No, I agree. If you're going to go for it, be honest about it and embrace it.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly.
So I am going to say a huge thank you for your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Constance.
And if any of the gorgeous people out there that are watching us want to get in touch, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
DM me on my Instagram.
Yeah, perfect. And I know you're hot on that. It's hilarious. If you're on chat with Jade on Instagram, it's hilarious. She's like, hang on a minute, gotta go on set. It's so funny the way you work. I love it. It's a different world, and it's just gorgeous to get a little slice into it. So thank you so much for your time today. You've been such a lovely guest, and hopefully we'll be doing a wedding together soon.
Fingers crossed. 2021. Have a lovely time this evening as well.
Yeah, that is going to be it. Sorry?
Have a lovely time this evening.
I will. Thank you. Well, we're about to do our street Christmas light switch on. I mean, community spirit is full on here. Not going to lie. We've got the mulled wine going. It's happening. And then going out for dinner tonight. So we will. Thank you. Thank you so much and have a lovely weekend.
Take care.
Take care.
See you after Christmas.
Bye-bye. Bye. See you then. Bye.
You'll have to turn off. I don't know what to do. Do I